Hey there, it's Christine Nielsen, and here we are live, trying to do our wrap up challenge on resilience. And I have been challenged enormously by um, by technology today. So I just keep persevering, keep trying it, and we started and then we stopped. I hope you were able to join us today for this wrap up challenge on resilience. So let's talk about what we've learned. And if you saw the Instagram earlier, that's great. We're going to do something a little bit different in this afternoon's LinkedIn live wrap up challenge. And what I'd love to do is hear from you about what you've learned and um, what are you learning? What did you learn about yourself? Please feel free to put it in the comments. Please remember that I am technologically challenged today. So if you don't mind sparing me and really, engaging in this live wrap up challenge of resilience. Let's start with why did we do the resilience challenge in the first place? The resilience challenge was done originally to help people create an ability to bounce back, recover in a difficult time or situation. And why is that important? Well, we're heading into an economic winter. We all know that. I don't think anybody's fooling themselves thinking, okay, interest rates are up, this is happening, there's things going on in my business, inflation, my costs, or things are out of control. Or you might be feeling personally out of control and uncertain. And so you're wanting to develop more resilience in the areas of your life where you might be faced with some challenges. And why I wanted to do resilience is I happen to be someone who has led a very resilient life, not by design, not by choice, but as a matter of several circumstances in life. And so being resilient in our businesses, being resilient in our leadership has actually elevated. I've been doing that for years. I've been doing it since I was a little kid. So what are the characteristics and qualities that have us be a little bit more resilient? Well, authenticity is the first thing. Vulnerability, sharing the experiences that we have and talking about that actively to figure out, well, what is really going on and how can we support each other? I wanted to give you an example or a definition, if you will, of what examples of resilient behavior. So understanding that the biggest thing is that setbacks are not permanent. Change is always moving and it's always constant. And understanding also that we can get through anything. We can really get through anything. The other part of being resilient and what that means is, like, what are examples of resilient behavior? Well, look at athletes, look at peak performers, look at people who just are refusal to give up. So there's a level of consistency. There's a level of, finding a way through something, finding a way around it, figuring it outness. Everything is solvable. All problems and challenges are solvable. So in this particular resilient wrap up, one of the challenges that I had this morning in terms of being able to do a live and figure it all out were, should I give up and not do it because the technology wasn't working? Well, if I am doing a resilient challenge and I say the technology is not working and I stop, how recoverable am I? So I was unwilling. So I went and learned. Those are big things. The other elements in terms of what we can create with resilience is really reframing things. So being unstoppable, reframing, recognizing my own belief system that is shaping my response to a challenge. So we all have, it's like, okay, where we stop is where we believe something to be the end game, the end point. So our perception creates our reality. Understanding, well, what is shaping our perception? What belief, what mindset, what challenge, is that true? So examining our own level of consciousness and up leveling or upgrading our conscious levels. The other challenges that people are faced with in business or in their leadership all the time is decision making. So how are we stuck in some of those decisions? What are we doing? How is that moving forward? My phone is blowing up and I don't know why. I can't see anything. I really am technically challenged today. Normally I have help, and because we had to reschedule this, it is what it is. So being able to figure out, okay, I move past this stumbling block? How do I be the person that I'm capable of being? So, well, that means you have to believe in yourself. And that means that you know that this too shall pass. That is one of my favorite mantras. This too shall pass. So, understanding like what are some options, not going it alone, asking other people what have they done in a similar situation or a similar circumstance that has allowed them to really thrive or flourish. And in the case of the resilience challenge, here's some things that people reported for to me having gone through the resilience challenge. An increased ability to step back and look at the situation newly. Well, what does that provide for us? So if we look at a situation through the same lens, we will get the same results. If we look at the situation and reframe or shift how we're viewing it, what else is possible? Asking the question, is that true? How do I know? What else can I do? I'm going to give you a personal example. So I think I've shared this with many of you. Um, One of my children is a AAA goalie, and this past weekend he was in a very, very tough competition, very high level goalie. Sorry, very. He's only 9, but hockey. He's a goalie, hockey goalie, and he was in one of the toughest competitions that he's faced this year as a 9-year-old goalie. He was undefeated in the entire tournament, and then he came to the semifinals and he faced one of the toughest teams in North America that are actually rated number 1. And there was these shooters on this team, and he didn't beat them. They beat him. What my point in saying that is he went into that trying to find ways to make sure that didn't happen. And when he left that game, he felt terrible. It was a huge setback for him emotionally. He was drained. He felt like he'd let his team down, blah, blah, blah. We all feel that way. Have you noticed we all go through things like that? The words out of his mouth weren't, I give up, I quit, I'm a terrible goalie. The words out of his mouth were, when am I next on the ice with my goalie trainer? I want to work on that. How many of us have a stop in our business, and instead of saying, how do I get better at this? We give up. Being resilient is about knowing what a gap is and not quitting on ourselves. Other examples of resilience in life, in business, are managing our emotions and our strong impulses. So managing that emotion to quit, managing our anger, managing what our disappointments are. So let me give you an example of when we get upset. And many of you have heard me say this before, but what causes an upset is there's 3 elements to that. So a thwarted intention, an unfulfilled expectation, or an undelivered communication. One or all 3 of those might be present. Well, if you're developing resiliency, it's the ability to step back and go, what is causing this upset? What is causing this challenge? What's my intention? How was it thwarted? What is there for me to say about that? What is there for me to do about that? Reframing it. What is the expectation that didn't get met? So maybe you had a certain goal that you didn't accomplish or didn't achieve. What expectation did you have? Like, I expected to do this resilience challenge wrap up this morning, and now we're doing it and we're squeezing it into the day. And, it wasn't set up well, but I'm still doing it because I know that the message will reach 1 or 2 or 5 or 100 people. It doesn't matter how many people. I want to keep my word, and I'm not willing to let my opinion about we didn't do it right, we should have done it better, we shouldn't have done it at all. Like, I could have just stopped. All of those shoulds would derail me from actually accomplishing what I'm committed to. So what's my intention? If my intention is to make an impact and a difference, then continue to keep going. So resilience is about that, shifting and reframing our mindset when we get upset, managing those emotions. There's also a level of consistency. So let's talk about how consistent are you in, if you have an upset or a derailment in revenue and sales, how consistent in your revenue and sales strategies are you? Where are you checking? Do you know the numbers of those? Do you know your own personal goals? Are you talking to someone actively and holding yourself or others to account for that? There's so many things we can talk about and apply this to, and there's so many examples of resilience. You want to look into your life and start to acknowledge people and yourself around where your growth has been. stop and take a minute and go, wow, I got through that. I did that. And it was a wow moment. So that's it for me on the resilience wrap up challenge. I wanted to pop on this LinkedIn live to complete this with you and to actively let you know that you're not alone in your resilience. We're all building this together. And the more opportunity that we have to develop the muscle of understanding and what it takes to rebound and to recover. Active recovery is what professional athletes use. Active recovery is what peak performers use. Active recovery from challenges in your business. So, how will you actively recover from that upset, that challenge, that thing that disrupted your intentions and your commitment? Again, thanks for joining the Coach C Live on the Resilience Challenge wrap up. I'm going to end this now, but I wanted to make sure that I kept my word and we did the program.